Hello, Poisoned Reasoning. I understand today you are sharing with the class a deck that is both partners and companion. A human, a goblin, and their very strange dog. We're doing Timna, a very good card, Vile Smasher, a potentially very, very good card, and Obosh, a very bad card who forces you to make the rest of your deck very bad on top of it. So we have to have only odd mana values and lands, but then our odd mana value stuff, we get a damage doubler. We get an 8th card in hand. And he's 8 mana, but we can spread it out over 2 turns. We could go like turn 4, get him to hand if we had nothing else to do. Turn 5, play him, and then woo, everything does double damage. So this is probably going to be on the lower power end, right? We have a massive, massive pair of manacles around a commander pairing that would typically want to be like Mardu combo soup. So you're saying I want the deck to focus on combat while doing some burn. I don't know if the Vine Boom's working in this scene, but I'm just gonna absolutely not. We can do a little bit of burn. Vile Smasher is the entirety of that little bit of burn. This is the type of thing I see asked a lot. Ooh, how do I make my deck do this while also doing some of this? And the answer is if you build a deck that is capable of doing some of this and some of that, you don't get a deck that does 50% this, 50% that. You get a deck that 10% of the time does this, 10% of the time does that, and 80% of the time doesn't do much of anything because it is running back and forth between the two cooking stations trying to prepare a hot bowl of this and a hot plate of that. And it doesn't really come through. So if you want to focus on combat and you just throw some burn around, fuck it. Because you're casual like that, because you're just laid back, you know? You just got matches and you want to see who's open for business. You got to accept in your heart, Timna is going to be your only burn card. Maybe you will have 1 or 2 more. But almost all of what you're going to do in the 99 has to be combat. I don't know if you are open to commander changes. If you are, combat that does some burn is kind of Zergo's whole bag, right? Because that is the only caveat to that statement. If you want to do combat with some burn, token aristocrats, go to combat. Or Mardu aggro token aristocrats, go to combat, and then they die, and then your opponents drain life. It's technically a drain effect rather than burn, so like Obosh wouldn't double the damage from it unless you did stuff like Impact Tremors, which you can't do because Impact Tremors is an even mana value and doesn't work with Obosh. I'm just saying you have better options. If part of this is overcoming the hurdle of working through, all right, I'm doing partner and companion, and the 3 of them really don't want to work together, we can do that too. But I think the 99 has to be very focused on tempo and combat. And hell yeah, a bunch of shitty mana rocks. I would recommend you cut every single one of these. I don't know what your curve looks like. Do you need this? Hell no. It's gotta be Shadow Immortality. You talked about that in the primer. Gotta be Shadow. With a curve like that, you can land drop to most of it, and your commanders are also 3 mana. Like, there's no world in which you would rather play a mana rock on 3 than play your commander when you could. And so this seems like a deck that will be much, much better off just curving out. Like, play bounce lands if you have to, up your land count if you have to, but I don't think having 3 mana rocks is doing much of anything for you. Creatures. Straight out of the bulk box. All right, but another damage doubler, a board wiper, Baylor, who's one of our favored cards. Sure, does some funny stuff and does damage via a odd CMC. Truly horrible. Super bad. No, the nonsense. The ramp nonsense has to stop. Good 1v1 card. Dog shit in Commander. Foul, so bad. Alright, card selection. Okay, creatures are indestructible. We can work with that. You definitely opened this out of a pack and thought he had that shit on. I don't think he does anything that good for you. The Death Claws might be good for you because he deals damage, so you can double him with Obosh. That Death Claws might be good if you were making a lot of tokens, but your Mardu army appears to be a lot of random dudes you saw on the street walking to the battle scene. Mahadi also dog shit unless you were doing token aristocrats. Goldlust Triad, sure. It's Myriad, it's odd CMC, it's flying, it will give you treasures. We can work with that. Combo makes no sense. This is the opposite of aggressive. This is you attempting to hold a throw pillow over your opponent's faces and hope that it suffocates them. Flage is another good in 60 card, no good at all in Commander. So it would not surprise me at all if you had played 60 card, or maybe you just opened these and knew they were good because they were pricey. Complete nonsense. Rowan's also we're cost reducing a bunch of 3-drops, brother. We don't need that. Maybe you have an X spell in here that you're aspiring to cast. Screaming Nemesis is fine, yeah. Throws damage around if you double the damage getting thrown around, or if you can buff this guy, great. Dajik, prevent non-combat damage. Mentor, that's fine. Jolly Balloon Man doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't see any good ETBs. I don't see any damage triggers that we really need to get through with flying that don't already have flying, like Balefire Dragon. Thalia is, again, opposite of aggressive. She has First Strike, which is good. There is something to be said for aggressive decks wanting to like slow down the decks that take more time to set up. I do not think making maybe the creatures entering tapped is good enough, but I doubt this is overall good enough. This is a coward card. She's just super hot. She's 7 mana, so it's going to take her forever to get out. And then it just says, please, please don't hit me. At the point Tace is coming out, we want a player to be dead, probably. All right, Treasure on Attack. This one's good. 3 mana, play this. It pseudo ramps me. Great. Nope. This is no. I do not like Cultist of the Absolute in a deck that cannot shit tokens like it's a factory farm. +3/+3 Flying Death Touch Ward, pay 3 life. Hey, that's great. You have 26 creatures in your deck. None of them make additional creatures. You are not going to have the fodder to keep this going. That's fine removal. I think that's broadly unnecessary. Again, we need to be pushing the pace. We don't care about what other people are doing. We care about the creature we're playing, and we care about the creature we're playing hitting you quite hard. Extreme Copium. This one's fine. This is okay to redirect a threat that we can't punch through. Like somebody plays a Galta early, and you're like, well, fuck, I can't swing into Galta, but I do need to kill you first. All right, I goad your Galta. Most of this is fine except for risk factor. I mean, it represents maybe 8 damage, which is really not enough to be a meaningful threat. And that's 8 damage if you have your companion out. 35 lands, and then here's why we have the ramp is we have dreams and hopes and aspirations of casting Devil's Play for enough mana that doubling it really matters. Okay, Come Back Wrong is cute. Ruinous Rampage is cute. I don't think you want Faithless Looting. You're not a combo deck. Decks that can afford to go card negative are typically combo decks or decks that have such extreme setup requirements that it is okay to be permanently disadvantaged for the rest of the game so long as you got the right thing in your opening hand. So most of what needs to be cut is like nearly everything, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The types of effects you want to look for is Drana. This is the hero of your deck, the hero of whatever country the girl, the dog, and the weird worm are from. Whenever you deal combat damage, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. The best possible thing you can do now is curve out with threatening or pseudo-threatening creatures, and the way you keep them relevant is with Obosh's damage doubling and finding ways to buff their power toughness. Whether you want to do it through anthems or +1/+1 counters or things like melee is up to you, but there are a million odd CMC effects that are going to grow your board, and that is what you need to be committing to. You need every creature in the deck should be, is this an okay threat on the mana value at the mana value I play it at? And then the rest of your deck can be, how do I make that guy bigger? How do I give that guy PEDs? Okay, you got to be like, you got to be the shady guy in a gym locker room, but you don't even have green. Like, you don't have an existing customer base. You don't have nice little pharma bottles. You're just pulling this shit out of like 40 ounces. So we have Drana, the tags you need to look into for this. Go to Scryfall, go to Tagger. Saboteur is going to be a good one. These are the things that get triggers or like benefit you for hitting somebody else. So you can look into Saboteurs to look into who are my good creatures, and you want to give Commander red, black, white. We can also look into, who's this bitch? There's one Boros lady I'm thinking of. Yeah, Adriana, Captain of the Guard. Another way you can keep these creatures relevant is to give them melee, which is for each different person you attack, all of your creatures, or each attacking creature gets +1/+1. So this is a way to give your board potentially +3/+3. You can combine this with another source of melee, which is Skyhunter Strike Force. I think, yeah, all of these are odd mana value. I'm leaning towards these because of Tymna. If you dump Tymna, melee becomes less viable, but it seems like we're trying to make all of our opponents take combat damage, ideally, if we want our card draw engine to work. We also have a lifelinker who we need to make bigger. If we swing a 2/2 all game in the hopes that she's going to draw us one card a turn, we're very quickly going to be stiff-armed by somebody who has purchased any precon. So we go to Saboteurs, red, black, white. The mana value odd. You can even sort by that. Aerial Extortionist. You can just reset people's shit. You can play this. You can exile something they control. They can recast it. But oh, look, you draw a card. It also flies, which means it's likely you get through. It starts as a 4/3, so if we can make it bigger, it can become a game-ending threat because every counter you put on it or every +1/+1 you give it actually represents 2 damage from Obosh. We're not doing suspend or anything like that. If you wanted to do modified, you could do stuff like Aranya. This is a way to get counters on your attacking creatures. So this you could play turn 4, swing Tymna, becomes a 3/3. If it lives, you know, Tymna gets a little bit bigger every single turn, and then you get a little bit of impulse draw on top of it. Like these are the bricks by which you are going to build a threatening board state. Another card draw method is Azra Oddsmaker, absolute fucking shithouse. Discard a card, pick a flyer, pick a creature you know is going to get through. You get to draw 2. You could Barrow-Goyf. Just because it has Death Touch and Lifelink, and so it is unlikely people block, and it will give you card selection. Like, this is what you want to be focused on. Your main priority is, what is something that will grow my board or refill my hand because I'm attacking, or is unlikely to be blocked? And I think many of these are like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but we have to keep our foot on the gas pedal if we're going to do this. I mean, shit, you could even Blood Mad Vampire, but there's almost no way that thing's getting through. Cecil Dark Knight would be a good Final Fantasy pickup. This is like, hell yeah, I can play this turn 1. This is a good threat who is going to swing aggressively, and then eventually I'm going to get a big lifelinker that keeps my board indestructible. If you lean into +1/+1 counters, Crimson Caravaneer, just being a double strike trampler is more than good enough if you're going to combine it with a damage doubler later in the game. If you're not going to lean into +1/+1 counters, don't do this. She's too weak. Or +1/+1 counters or anthems, but you need to lean into one of the two. This is also going to be kind of a deep cut. I don't think I've ever seen this card played. But hey, it's a flyer, it makes people sacrifice creatures, and it can be a 6/6, which will deal 12 damage. Isn't that fun? There's Drana, your new favorite person. I don't think you're doing this kindred stuff. You could consider these ones just for like standalone like every time they hit, they'll put a counter on. I don't think that's good enough, but depending on your table, maybe it's good enough. I kind of like Falconwrath Marauders, depending on how casual we are. This will grow really quickly. If you have Obosh on board and you don't play into like Angel players or you don't play into Birds players, this becomes what? 4 damage, then 8 damage, then 12 damage, then 16 damage. That is not a very long path to lethal if you are playing this on curve. Oh, I just saw a fucking Frodo that I was interested in. Hold on. You could do Frodo Sauron's Bane just to have a 1-drop. Genuinely. Like, I think a big problem you're going to have is because we're on this odd CMC thing and because we've chosen to erect an Eiffel Tower at 3 mana, there's a pretty good chance that most of your turns are, or most of your games, land, nothing, pass. Land, nothing, pass. Land, commander, pass. Land, 3-drop, pass. Land, 3-drop, pass. Like, you're waiting a long time to play the 3-drops because you can't ramp on turn 1 because you don't have green. And then on top of that, you are playing 3-drops when other people are playing 4-drops, 5-drops, 6-drops, which are just going to be better cards than you. Let's do a playtest and just see how... Woof. All right, we play a Scryland. What's on top? A Plains. Get rid of it. Play a Swamp. Play Tymna. All right, if I don't have somebody open, I think I'll assume you have somebody open. We can pay 1 life, draw a card. Play Burnished Heart. Land, Baelor, our boy. Turn 5, if you have anybody open for a 2/2 at this point, I would be genuinely amazed. So I'm going to say we don't have that. We have a... I cannot express how little we can use the 3-drop rock. So we can't use the rock. Using Burnished Heart's mana really doesn't matter. And we can't be aggressive at all because none of our swings are good. And we have no way to grow the board that we have made. So let's list the O tags that are going to save this deck for when you rebuild it. The O tags you want are Saboteur. We've pulled up a ton of examples here. The other O tag you want is probably gives PP counters. Now you need to be managing all of these with red, black, white for your commander, and then MV:odd. Since your commander has lifelink, you can consider investing in the stuff like Heliod Suncrowned. You don't want to invest in making tokens. But like Archangel of Thune grows your whole board. It's evasive. If you play it on turn 5 and you can swing a Tymna that has been getting buffed at all, you will put counters on everything you control. And that is how you get aggressive. What you want to do is chip people for maybe 10 damage. Not very much. You're going to chip in for a little bit of damage, but you want to have a board that has like some 4-power creatures, some 5-power creatures, and then you Obosh, and suddenly your board represents like 30 damage. That's the dream. And to build that dream, I think you probably need fewer 3-drops. I typically have a rule that, not even a rule, I typically caution people that you don't want to have a lot of stuff in your deck that competes with your commander's mana value. Think about it this way. Every single game, you will have the option on turn 3 and turn 4 to play Tymna and then play Vial Smasher, or play Vial Smasher and then play Tymna, depending on how you want to do the order of operations. If you know you're going to have that option every single game, it means any 3-drop, any 3-mana spell you put in this deck has to be better than Tymna or Vial Smasher. Somehow, for some reason, you need to have a genuine angle that would mean I'm going to play this instead of my commander on turn 3. Or I'm going to play this instead of my other commander on turn 4. If there's not an angle for that, you probably want them to be either a 1-drop, like Frodo, so that you can commit something to board, or you want them to be a 5-drop, like Archangel of Thune or Falconwrath Marauders, so that they can be a bigger threat. Okay? Because I think in most worlds, you want to play Tymna. You want to stick Tymna. The turn after Tymna, you want to stick something that will help Tymna attack so that you can pick up cards. Other things you can look into is you can look into a little bit of equipment. Some of my favorite tempo pieces are like the Lost Jite, and this will fit in your odd mana value thing. Now, this requires you to have already dealt the combat damage. I don't think you want Umezawa's, but you can check out the Pip-Boy. You either get card selection or you get a counter on the creature, which again matters. Tymna sucks at fighting. The earlier we can make Tymna not suck at fighting, the better. Or you get to untap lands. So you could play this on turn 1, turn 2, hold your dick in your hand, turn 3, play Tymna, and this is still really slow, but it does something. Is turn 4, equip Pip-Boy, swing Tymna, you get to untap the 2 lands if you had a free hit. If you don't, you get Tymna to a 3/3. And then you can get just a little bit more motion going. And I also recommended a bunch of 3-drops, which fucking sucks, huh? So cuts I would recommend basically everything. I'm going to call out the very worst ones right now, which is whole ramp section. You can keep Soul Ring if you're a greedy bastard. But whole ramp section, Bone Crusher, Burnished Heart, DRC, Golbez, Tomball, Mahadi, Master of Cruelties, Flage, Rowan, Pesa, Thalia, Jolly Balloon Man. Gone. Baneful Omen, because this is life loss, not damage, so it doesn't work with Obosh. Revel in Riches, Cultist of the Absolute, Monologue Tax. Gone. Risk Factor can probably go here, but the rest are okay. You should not run Faithless Looting, again, just because you really don't want to go card negative. You just want to have better 1-drops or better 3-drops or something like that. Wheeling's fine. This is, again, cute as hell. And I would rebuild it with Saboteurs, Tempo Creatures. You could even look at, like, Commander, Red, Black, White, mana value 1. What are my best one drops? Like Ragavan's $1 million, but if you own a printer, great card. Sarah's Ascendant, great card. Weathered Wayfarer, potentially great card. Giver of Runes, incredibly, incredibly good card. These are the setup pieces you want to have so that you can play Tymna and swing Tymna without getting blown out. So I think Mother of Runes also goes hand in hand with this. You can even do Guide of Souls, because all you're really going to be doing is, like, you're not going to be doing tokens. So this guy's not amazing. I would not recommend wholeheartedly, but I would recommend considering him. You could fucking Yoshimara really wouldn't be that good unless you fuck it up with way more legendaries. But you have at minimum 3 legendaries you're going to be playing from outside your hand, and so if you have any more in the deck, that does get viable relatively quickly. You could even do Thraben Inspector for the super cute, like, oh, if they're in your opening hand, turn 1, play them. Turn 2, crack the clue, because what else am I going to do? Again, these one drops, many of them are not the best. Ragavan and Sarah's Ascendant are far away the best, and then there's like Giver of Runes, Mother of Runes, Zach Farah's Protection, but I would rebuild this around the idea of I need good one drops. I need fewer 3 drops. The only 3 drops I want are the ones that are like so overwhelmingly good that I would consider delaying my commander for them. And in my mind, that's like Drana, that could be Anzra Oddsmaker. If you do a lot of +1/+1 counter stuff in the rebuild, it could be that 1 double strike trampler. And then you need more 5 drops to threaten the board. Maybe not more, but your 5 drops need to be better. Your 5 drops need to be more threatening. And from there, I think you're set. But this first version of the deck, I think there is basically no future for it. And I'm sorry to say that, but I think there's future for the idea.